As you may know, HBO's Peacemaker is the highest-rated DCEU project, literally above all others. With only a few episodes under its belt, the show is outperforming every other DCEU film now in theaters, including Gunn's much-lauded Suicide Squad. Peacemaker's combination of violent violence, comedy, and drama has received rave reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the series presently has a 94% approval rating, just enough to put it ahead of the rest of the DCEU films. These Rotten Tomatoes even surpass the previous high of 93% set by Wonder Woman in 2017. So does this mean that Peacemaker is changing DCEU for good? Let's discuss this in detail in today's video. As James Gunn's Suicide Squad spin-off Peacemaker continues its boisterous 8-episode run on HBO Max, the more the DCEU Extended Universe's continuity is all but dead, and that's a good thing. Peacemaker opens up months after the events of the Suicide Squad, with Christopher Smith, John Cena, being recruited by a new Task Force X called Project Butterfly to repel another alien invasion. The way Gunn's series weaves in many references to the DC universe that rewrites what spectators know about the DCEU is even more interesting than Peacemaker's bizarre escapades. The DCEU began nearly a decade ago with Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, with Zack Snyder as its principal architect. The DCEU was hailed as the answer to Marvel Studios' phenomenal success, but Warner Bros. Lost faith in Snyder's vision after bad critical reception and disappointing box office numbers in comparison to Marvel. In addition, the director was compelled to leave the Justice League due to a personal tragedy. After then, Joss Whedon finished and transformed Justice League into a critical and commercial flop. Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, on the other hand, had enormous success as standalone films, moving away from Snyder's grim vision and into their own creative areas. Snyder was able to finish his version of Justice League on HBO Max, but the director's DCEU appears to be over with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Apart from Zack Snyder's Justice League, recent DC films such as Shazam, Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman 1984 have simply given a nod to the DCEU's established chronology. The latest DC slate has been more director-driven, particularly Joker, which followed Aquaman in grossing over $1 billion. The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, exemplifies the director-driven DCEU picture, since he was given complete creative control over his DC team-up film with his choice of DC characters at his disposal. However, between the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, Gunn has strayed even further from Snyder's DCEU canon to the point that it's unclear whether the original DCEU movie continuity can still be applied. Peacemaker marks a complete split from the DCEU continuity, and it's for the best. How the DCEU timeline is being broken by Peacemaker. The Suicide Squad was purportedly a sequel to David Ayer's Suicide Squad, but even before the Suicide Squad vanquished Starro the Conqueror in the film's conclusion, the film's connection to its DCEU predecessor was already shaky. It wasn't necessary to have seen Suicide Squad to enjoy or comprehend the Suicide Squad, which is more similar to a solo soft reboot of the worst heroes ever. Peacemaker continues the plot set in the setting of the Suicide Squad, but it doesn't appear to take place in Zack Snyder's DCEU films. True, there are references to Aquaman, Jason Momoa, and Batman, Ben Affleck, but Gunn's comedy and point of view suggested that his universe is distinct from that of previous films. Despite all of the lives taken by the Dark Knight and Batman vs. Superman, Peacemaker's father's neighbor, August Smith, Robert Patrick, adamantly asserts that Batman doesn't kill. Even though Aquaman established that Arthur Curry is a well-known and popular superhero, Peacemaker begins with remarks about Aquaman having sex with fish. Peacemaker then proves that Batmite, an interdimensional imp who despises Batman, is canon, as is Matter-Eater Lad from the Legion of Superheroes, with whom Peacemaker formerly collaborated. Both of those minor DC figures contradict Zack Snyder's DCEU vision, signaling Gunn's departure from the DCEU timeline. When one of August Smith's neighbors mentioned Joker as one of Batman's foes in Peacemaker Episode 4, The Chode Less Traveled, it implied that a separate Joker exists in the Suicide Squad canon. Peacemakers because it's already doubtful that Ben Affleck's Batman is the same Batman in this canon. After all, Bruce Wayne never followed through on his threat to Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, in Suicide Squad's mid-credit scene that he'd shut down Task Force X. This could mean that there's another Joker in Peacemaker who isn't Jared Leto's Maniac. Leto's Joker was only alluded at in Birds of Prey, but he didn't appear, and the artwork picturing him didn't look anything like Leto's deadly clown. Following the events of Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn's Margot Robbie plotline in the Suicide Squad largely ignored Mr. J. If the Joker described in Peacemaker isn't the same one who appeared in Suicide Squad 2016, it's even another proof that Peacemaker exists in its own DCEU, separate from Zack Snyder's. Peacemaker is the first DCEU spin-off series. Unlike shows like The Flash on the CW, not to be confused with the film, pre-release reviews have been more positive than negative, so it's too early to tell if HBO Max will be a hit or flop. However, given that the show picks up from one of DC's lowest-grossing films, insert acknowledgement of a pandemic here, Peacemaker may be able to declare war or surrender before the season's conclusion. In any case, it's a bold move for the DCEU to base its debut streaming show on one of its least popular films. Nonetheless, the program is a huge risk for the DCEU, which was previously only available in theaters. Aside from a few multi-billion-dollar successes, the DCEU hasn't been able to outmuscle its Marvel Cinematic Universe adversary. Marvel was even ahead of the DCEU when it came to streaming, with the MCU launching last year and displaying smart use of the medium. Marvel has carved out a place for characters that, for abstract reasons, could never lead their own movie, with series like WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Marvel's venture has also accomplished something that many studios with a streaming service strive for, keeping consumers engaged and anticipating the next major movie. Peacemaker is obviously a studio that Warner Media would like to be as big as WandaVision. Who wouldn't? Warner, on the other hand, did not go out of their way to make Peacemaker. HBO Max only got a Peacemaker program thanks to the Suicide Squad writer-director James Gunn. Working with John Cena on the Suicide Squad allowed Gunn to perceive levels of anguish in the character that the filmmaker wanted to explore further, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Seeing John made me realize that there's a lot more to this actor than I realized, Gunn stated. When the COVID-19 epidemic approached 2020, Gunn went into lockdown and, mainly for fun, wrote a Peacemaker TV show. DC isn't the first studio to release streaming sequels to its films, but as DC demonstrates with Peacemaker, they can be more than just certain strategies to boost subscriber counts. Peacemaker doesn't break the atom in terms of creativity. Its themes of chosen family and terrible fathers are known from Gunn's Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy. However, it might lead to more DCEU artist-driven events where even the most overpowering concepts can be given more breathing room in a flexible, accessible style. It might even be the only way for Batman to make sense once more.